Hello, mate. How you doing?
Good afternoon. I've
Note to
stopped shivering.
self. Note to self. Move microphone. Front of face.
I
Before.
don't, I don't know if you noticed, but on our call earlier today, I was literally shaking with cold.
Were you?
Yes.
How bizarre.
This room was like a refrigerator. So I went
Yeah,
downstairs and whacked the thermostat up.
mine heats up really quickly when I shut the door for calls. And at the end of our call earlier today, it was really hot in here. So
Yeah. Well, I've got the radiator on by my side here now, so I'm toasty warm. Thanks.
Mhm.
If I start stripping off, that's why.
I saw Texas is covered in ice and snow. So
Is it really?
it was -10.
Wow.
Um,
For Texas, I imagine that's cold.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe it's not. It's funny. You have
I
ideas
spoke to Phil and Jordan last week. It's cold.
It's cold. It's unusual. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's the coldest it's been for 30 years.
Wow.
So, but that's not why we're here. We are not the Weather Channel.
What's been going on in Macanta land?
A couple of things. So first one is we've added the ability. It's a bit of a blunt object, a blunt tool, but it had a real use case, and it seems sensible to do it. So especially if you combine a couple of features. So we've added the ability that when you set up an automated email, you can just tick a box, and then any files attached to the data object that triggered the email will be attached to the email. And this becomes especially handy when you combine it with the function we have where when someone uploads a file to a data object, you can trigger an action. So you can have a scenario where I send an email to a customer, so not a user of Macanta. I send an email to a customer with a link to say, upload your files. They click the link, upload the files. Them uploading the files triggers another action, which then sends an email to the solicitor saying, here are the files you requested. And I don't have to sit in the middle and do the requesting or the passing on. It just happens. And then depending on how you set it up, whenever new files are attached, you can resend the email with updated selection of files. So at the moment, it is only all files. So if there are 10 attached, there's going to be 10 on the email, because in order to make it that you can say only these files, you have to know what the files are going to be in advance with very specific naming conventions and everything, and the likelihood of people sticking to naming conventions when you ask them for a file.
No, if you're relying on naming conventions in a system, then you haven't got a system.
Yeah, you either have to stop them uploading if the naming convention isn't right, and then you frustrate the user on the other end, or you just say, well, naming conventions don't go. But I can see quite a few, use cases where it can be, you take a person out of the middle because the automation asks for the files and the automation passes the files on.
Yeah.
So
if I, in this scenario, if I upload a file, the solicitor gets an email with the one file attached. If a little bit later on I upload another file, does the solicitor just get the new file, or does he get the two files that are now on the data object?
He'll get a new email with all the files attached. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
You'll in that scenario, you'll always have a latest email with all the files attached. Because otherwise, also you end up, okay, well, you send me this one, then you send me this one, then you send me that.
And I've got to go back to my email history to get all the files. Well, at least I just go to the most recent file, and that's got all the attachments. Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Especially when files are replaced or updated or whatever, then you're covered there as well. So that one's there. The other one is contact-specific fields. So if you remember, those are the kinds of thing where we book a flight. You and I are both going on the flight together. We're leaving from the same airport at the same time, arriving at the same place. Everything's the same, but your passport number and seat number is different to mine. But apart
Yeah.
from those two elements, all the other information is the same. So that seat number would be a contact specific field in the data object. So we've now made it possible. Previously, if you can have 5 people attached to a data object, each with their own value, but in order to see what James's value is, you have to open up James's contact record, go to the data object and see what the value is. We've now just added a little icon next to all the contact specific fields. When you click on that, window pops up listing the related contacts and their values for that field. And you can then just click there on the contact to load that contact if you need to go and do something. But it just gives you a bit of insight into that contact specific field without having to load each individual contact.
I'm curious, what was the real life use case that was behind that development?
An event. If there's an event, 10 people booked onto the event, the only way for me to see the registration status or the attendance status for each of those people is to open them one at a time, or to have a query, a safe search, so I can see who's attending this event. Whereas now I can look at an event and just say, well, who's there? And what's the status, and okay, this person didn't come, so let me go and have a look and see and email them or whatever I need.
Lovely. And again, the fact that it's come from real world, it's come from the real world means that it's not just plucked out of an orifice somewhere. It's solving a real problem for a real business, and therefore will benefit many people.
Yeah, so that's what I have for you this week. Oh, and the other is, it's a bit meta, but we've added a function to Macanta where I can, in the interface, upload a video for this version. What's new in this version? You click the link, you can see what's new with notes and whatever. So it's a different version of this, but it's more in the interface with walkthrough of the functionality. So later today, that'll be available in the latest version, so you can then see that.
Okay, very cool. Does that negate then these product update calls? Is that going to be the mechanism?
It depends, because of course the only way you can see that is if you log into an instance of Macanta. You can see these even if you don't have Macanta. So
yeah, that's fair.
Depends on the use.
Great. See you same time, same place next week.
See you next week.
See ya. Bye.